Hello everybody, it is me, Jurassic Alt, here to say that today we are going to be talking about Tales from the Plex, Story 2, Book 3, B-7. I'm very excited to talk about this story. There's a lot of stuff, very interesting stuff to talk about. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to give you a very brief description of the story. So basically the story starts out with this kid named Billy, who is 5 years old, and is watching Freddy and Friends, and basically ever since he watched Freddy and Friends is convinced he is a robot, and has to, air quotes, make adjustments and upgrades to himself, like replacing his arms, his legs, his face, his tongue, his ears, and all of that. But no surgeon will do it, so he gets a crazy doctor, basically in a mental hospital, to, air quotes, fix him. He finally eventually realizes this is not right. I shouldn't be like this. And basically runs away to a junkyard. Keep that in mind. Probably a foreshadowing for another thing that's coming up. And runs away into a junkyard and hides in a car, and then gets compacted by a car compactor. It is crazy. Holy cow. But yeah, that's the summary of the story. Now, I'm going to give you some random stuff that I want to talk about. So yeah. So in the story, it mentions when Billy's going to therapy, or psychology therapy, I think? Psychology. He goes to a psychologist and mentions that, hey, I had to deal with a kid who thought he was an alien for a year. That kind of felt really weird and kind of just out there. Kind of seemed important. So they also mentioned Billy got his bed replaced with a steel table, and his room is dark. Kind of reminds me of the FNAF 1 death screen, like this. It kind of reminded me of this. Also, there is Billy's neighbor when he was younger. There was a little girl who used to live there, and said, "Stop being weird and creepy like a robot, or I'm gonna have my doll eat you." Now, a doll, that just kind of seems random. Well, it does seem kind of random. But I think the doll this might be a story potential for Nexie. This story, I don't know, maybe. I have no idea. That's some kind of the random stuff out of the way. Now we'll talk about the main theory of the video. Billy is supposed to represent Gregory. Now, I want to present something. I think the reason why Billy is convinced he's a robot is because of Freddy and Friends. Because there's a line in the story that really kind of just seemed off and potential. Let me read the line to you. On page 145, it says, Billy was too busy watching Freddy, Chica, and Bonnie eat pizza and talk about the camera on the wall above them. Who do you think is watching us? A cartoon Bonnie on the TV asked. I don't know, Bonnie, cartoon Freddy said. Let's go see if we can find whoever it is, cartoon Chica said. On the TV screen, Bonnie jumped up and grabbed his guitar. Not until after we play a song, he said. Okay, Freddy said. He pulled out his microphone and started singing. So, there's two things. First thing, when they mentioned that someone's watching them on the camera. When I first read this, I kind of got the inference of maybe they're talking about the viewer is watching us on the camera, but it could also mean that it's like FNAF 1 camera of being watched by them. But I don't think it's the camera that's a role. I do maybe, but what really stands out to me is they play a song. Now, I think the song hypnotized Billy in convincing him that he is a robot. Why? The song? I have no idea. But what does that have to do with Gregory? A while back, we got videos called Freddy and Friends on Tour. I also want to mention that it's not called Freddy and Friends. It's called Freddy and Friends on Tour. It seems like Freddy and Friends is kind of like a retro kind of old show. And I think they kind of redid it and added on tour. Now, Freddy and Friends is an old archive from Fazbear Entertainment. Now, what does that have to do with anything? I think Gregory watched Fazbear Entertainment and, air quotes, got hypnotized and is convinced he is a robot. That's why so many people think he is a robot. But that's not where my theory ends, guys. If you noticed, throughout the show, the, air quotes, files get more corrupted. The first one is clean and nice and as clean as it could be. And then as it slowly goes on, they get worse and worse. Which seems weird, but I would assume that's Glitchtrap taking over the files. Now, you're probably saying, what does that have to do with anything? There was a line in this story that really stood out to me. It's on page 161. That day, Billy's mom took him to Parts and Service. Although she called Parts and Service the hospital, Billy's memory bank brought up images of him being in the hospital when he was 3, but the images did not have any negative impact on him. He was a robot, so he couldn't be upset about anything. Parts and Service was just another place to be. I definitely do believe that Gregory has parts of Crying Child's memories, and they don't really affect him, but they kind of do, because he remembers them, but he doesn't really fear the animatronics. He doesn't run away and get scared by Glamrock Freddy. He doesn't run away and get scared by Glamrock Chica, Bonnie, or probably not Bonnie, doesn't get scared away by Monty or Roxanne. I do think that Gregory has some memories of Crying Child. Now, my big question is, when I first read this and kind of chewed on it for a little bit, how did Gregory get Crying Child memories? Like, how did he get, air quotes, memories of Crying Child and stuff like that? He got the memories just like how Billy became an animatronic. I think Glitch Trap is the reason, because Glitch Trap is just an extension of Afton. I think Glitch Trap went into the files of Freddy's and Friends on tour and corrupted it with stuff to make it seem like do the same thing what you did back in whatever 1980 something, whenever this Billy story took place, and do the exact same thing, but instead of having it convince kids that they're robots, maybe just have Gregory convinced that he's Afton's son. He's the new Crying Child. Now, does that mean the same thing happened to Vanessa? Maybe, but I also noticed something. It seems like it's a lot easier to, air quotes, take over a subject when it sounds like they have a lot of trauma, because Billy was terrified and kind of was spooked by the needles in hospitals. Maybe being traumatized made it that Billy was easier to, air quotes, mold and take over. In the VHS or in the CD tapes, Vanessa is often dealing with her parents and saying that her parents were terrible people and stuff like that.
I suppose I don't need you to tell me it felt bad to have a parent scare you into saying things that weren't true. He manipulated you. It wasn't your fault. It's really sad. But it's common for one parent to use their child to hurt the other parent. I know your mum, after she lost the custody case.
I was supposed to be a good girl.
What happened to her had nothing to do with you.
But what does that have to do with Gregory and that? I think Gregory probably had to go through some kind of trauma, too. I think Gregory probably went through some kind of trauma and made it that he was easier to, air quotes, mold him into being a possessed or convinced that he's Crying Child. Now, there are 2 places that we see Freddy and Friends. 2 places are in the Faz Theater when you enter that area and go to the big screen area. There's that place, and the other place that we see it is in this room. Now, maybe Vanessa was like, yes, Gregory is a perfect subject. Let's kidnap him, put him in this room, and make him watch Freddy and Friends. And maybe he wasn't, air quotes, completely done watching Freddy and Friends. Maybe he didn't completely get all of the memories of Crying Child, and that's why he has memories, or air quotes, isn't fully like acting like Crying Child. I don't know, like, it just seems weird. I feel like there's some potential there. It also seems very interesting because this is very much so like a Golden Freddy kind of situation, because technically it's Gregory's memories with Crying Child's, maybe a robot memories too, like Frailty, maybe, I don't know. But it's kind of definitely seems like a Golden Freddy situation of Gregory and Crying Child sharing one body. Instead of it was a robot, now it's an actual person. So I don't know, could seem like it just seems very odd. Now that brings to, who are Gregory's parents? I feel like Gregory's parents are someone who worked at the Pizza Plex. Now, I could make a whole video on who I think Gregory's parents are. And I think that's a video entirely to itself, because this video is getting a little too long. So yeah, we're going to end this video. But first, we have to do a timeline bit. So I'm going to put this story before Help Wanted, only because it talks about a pizzeria in the story, and Help Wanted seems like it's after the pizzeria and after kind of the air quotes bite of 87, bite of this, after all of that. I think it's in the Help Wanted timeline, so it'd be the latest one that isn't from the Pizzaplex. So I'm going to put it here. I know I keep saying, oh, the Monty timeline and the Monty part and the Roxanne part. I'm not going to do all of the books in one timeline. That's a whole theory by itself. So I'm going to break it up into pieces of each book is going to get its own each timeline. I'm going to mention this in the next one, which is the epilogue, which I am very, very excited for, because I'm mainly just going to be talking through the story instead of giving a theory. Well, I'll probably give a theory too. Yeah, I'll definitely give a theory too. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This video was kind of more unstable, and I kind of just was all over the place. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I'm really bad at this. I just need to practice. I'm kind of just all over the place. This theory was kind of just all over the place. I know. I'm sorry. But thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, cheeseburgers, waffles, and acorns.